And good Monday night, everyone. Thanks for joining for this Tropics After Dark. We are still tracking what is now Hurricane Nicholas out there, still hanging in the Gulf, barely. Remember, we talked about the scenario a couple of nights ago. If it would take this track that hugs the coast and stays over the water just long enough, it had a chance to get to Category 1 status. And the problem with this that we're seeing tonight is that we're still seeing some flare-ups here on the infrared satellite. You can see here on the satellite picture that just because it's it's still just offshore, so it's not going to weaken until it officially moves inland, which is going to happen probably in the next couple of hours or so. How's everyone doing tonight? Good to see you on here, Gwendolyn. JJ, yep, it is a Category 1. Talked about that scenario. Remember, it's 75, right? It doesn't really change too much, but 65, 70 mile per hour winds. We're getting sustained winds. They had a report there come out of sustained winds. I forget where it was now because I'm reading so much and I forget everything, but it was in Matagorda Bay. Yeah, reported sustained winds of hurricane and gusting up over 80 miles per hour. So that prompted them to upgrade this to a Category 1 at 10 p.m. So that's what's happened. Still right now, even with that, Jessica says I'm drinking. A lot of people, I bet you are. Crystal says a lot of people still without power in Louisiana. That is true. So that's what we're looking at right now. How you doing, Tracy? Good to see you on here tonight. Ross, thank you for that. Appreciate that, bud. So here's what we're looking at tonight. 75 mile per hour. Thank you, Blake. Much appreciated, ma'am. 75 mile per hour hurricane now. Still just hanging offshore. And again, we're not going to see this weaken too much until we can get it inland a little bit. But the rainfall is still a pretty big issue. But you see that pulsating that's happening. And we've seen this for the last really since it started coming in the Gulf and coming toward Texas. Again, the center of circulation has not really been very, what's the word? I can't even think of a word. It's not very defined. We'll just say. I'm running out of words to say during this season. It feels like it's been 37 years since the hurricane season began. So it hasn't been very well defined the entire time. And it's been changing locations and all, and it's been pulsating here north, south. But right now we're seeing some pulsing right there just along the coast. Not what you want to see, as the thing is very close, because I'm sure we're seeing some pretty strong winds. And I can show you that right now if you want some proof. There's a look at Galveston right now. And notice how the rain is coming in horizontal right now. And we talked about that the waves earlier in that seawall, but that water's coming up quite a bit. It shouldn't cross the seawall, of course, but it's certainly up as more than it was. You can see it's hard to really tell, but if you look at the rain there where that street light is, it is horizontal. It's some pretty strong winds right now over in Galveston currently. So And that is not close, by the way, to where the center is, currently. The Galveston's still a little bit of ways. But with that said, because it's not a very organized system and things have been a little bit weird with this one, this is where they're tracking the center of circulation right now around this area. And you can see what this center has been doing, right? It goes north, slows down, then it goes a little bit here, more of an eastward movement, maybe northeast. And now the last location comes back more northeast. So this thing is jogging all over the place. Y'all aren't the only ones drinking right now. The storm seems like it's doing that a little bit too, as it's going all over the place. But with that said, normally you're going to see the strongest winds located around around like an eye wall with these centers. But notice on the western side, these are very light, weak winds over there, right? That's not much at all. We do see some stronger winds, all these purples, but you can see up here too, right? And way over here and right here. But that is well east of where the center of circulation is, with this. So again, not a normal storm by any stretch of the mean. We're seeing a little bit different, but we kind of knew this was the orientation with that shear knocking things from the southwest to the northeast, where things were going to be stronger to the east and the northeast of the system. So with this one, even if you're not near the center where it makes landfall, you saw the image just now in Galveston with the the strong winds there. I mean, these are pretty decent amount of winds coming in. I'm not sure what the sustained winds right now over in Galveston, but it looks pretty decent. Maybe 50 to 55 estimate. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, that's some pretty strong winds, and it's still a pretty good distance away. Let's take a look at where the center of circulation is located. And if you need more proof about how this thing is displaced off to the east, notice where the center of circulation is at 10 p.m., right? This is where the National Hurricane Center has it. It's 75-mile-per-hour winds, 90 miles per hour. We did see a slowdown, not a huge slowdown, but I believe it went from 12 earlier, and now it's down to 10. Now, I know it's not a big, a big jump down, like, right, 12 to 10, but the point is that it is slowing down, and we expect more slowdowns to happen as this thing moves inland and starts to bend slowly now off to the east. It's going to lose the steering currents. The ridge that it's been riding along to the east is going to basically weaken, and it's going to leave it just there, right? And it's not going to pick up any type of steering to kind of, take this away. And that's where you get these issues. As Kelly says, winds just picked up big time in Baytown, and rain seriously intensified in the last past 20 minutes. And that does make sense there, Kelly, and I expect that to probably continue, actually, as we go forward. Let's take a look real quick at the radar and what we're looking at right now. And that's a look at the current radar. And, so Matagorda had it pretty bad earlier, right? See some images from there, some of the surge coming over the roads, and some pretty significant winds. Now that the storm is shifting off to the east, remember, the west side of the storm is dead, right? There's not much going on over there. So you want to get west of the storm, and then you'll have much more pleasant conditions once you do. So Matagorda's conditions are likely improving. Now they're getting an offshore flow. As the storm is, passing off in that direction, you get more of a flow that's pushing the water back out, which is what you want. Let me check one thing real quick. And so now the problem is that we currently still have a lot of rainfall on the eastern and northern portion of the storm. So that's that obviously does remain an issue. I'm just trying to look up one thing real quick. So yeah, that's going to remain an issue. So notice on the radar here, and we have a couple of flash flood warnings that have been issued, and just to make sure that there's no, at this point, I don't believe right now we have any flash flood emergencies, which is what you really need to watch out for with this type of rainfall. No, not at the moment. So we do have flash flood warnings right now. We need these storms to get out of here at this point, right? Because these areas. So the first flash flood warning there, you can see it is from Matagorda, and it's extended over to the east a little bit, but they extended that second flash flood warning, and this one to me is a little bit more concerning than the first one, because some of these areas like Lake Jackson, Freeport, Treasure Island, they were getting into the rainfall when that first flash flood warning was issued, and now they're still getting into this rain, and this rain looks a little bit more intense that's coming in. You can see that unlimited moisture tap from the Gulf when this thing is not moving too much, but you see the storms continuing to flow in from the southeast. And so this is where those issues can be created, and not to mention some of the surge close to the coast. So conditions now from like Freeport, Lake Jackson, Treasure Island, Jamaica Beach, and up into Galveston. Now, we noticed that camera just now at Galveston, but I would guess as these squalls come in, you see the heavier stuff, that the conditions are about to get a lot worse. And that is going to be the case probably for you, JJ, there in League City. We'll see if those rain bands get up into your area. But right now, conditions are not good along the coast right now, from stretching over from Lake Jackson, Freeport, and up toward Galveston. It's about to get a lot worse. So yeah, big issues right now over. But this was the scenario that we knew was kind of going to play out. I think the unfortunate part right now is that, remember the models the other night, we had some tracks that were going inland a bit, and we had some tracks that were staying just offshore, and we had some that were going way to the east. This track right here may actually be one of the worst tracks that could have taken place, because you have the storm that's in close proximity to the coast, but not actually on the coast right now. It's still staying offshore. Remember last night it looked like we could get a landfall somewhere between Corpus Christi and Port O'Connor. Didn't happen. Stayed offshore, and now it's east of those areas. And the whole time it's been over the water, which allowed it to get to a Category 1 hurricane. So this is one of those scenarios talked about that was obviously not ideal. And with that, you don't get the you don't get the storm weakening. and with that, you still get a lot of moisture and a lot of rainfall pushing to the north. I mean, you can see where the rain's extending. It's all the way here and extending up to the north. Now, although the rain rates, if you're looking up there in southwest Louisiana up toward Beaumont, Port Arthur, and like Highline Island, Winnie, so the rain rates aren't too bad, but remember, the accumulation over a couple of days is where you get the issues. So it's not going to be too bad tonight, but this storm is moving towards y'all up there. And so the rain rates will continue to increase. And I'll show you a couple of models in just a second that are a little bit concerning, and we'll talk about that. But that's the current radar. I'm going to watch this closely over the next couple of hours or so just to see. And Casey says in Freeport, we're feeling it now. Yeah, I would imagine, definitely that you are feeling it right there. Currently in the Freeport area. Here is Freeport. Casey says that's where they are feeling it right now. You can see some of the heavier squalls coming in that area now, and I'm sure the winds have picked up as well. So need to get this thing on shore at least to so we can maybe decrease the winds a little bit. But honestly, we need to get this rainfall decreasing and get this thing out of here as well. So the good news right now, at least, is, all right, so the places on the coast are getting hammered, right? We talk about that, and that's not good, and we got to watch this, to make sure this, doesn't get a little bit worse as it goes forward. The areas north, I know a lot of people are asking about Houston up there. So right now, we have not had many very heavy squalls make it up to the Houston metro area. So even if you get a couple of heavy things that make it up in that direction, might not be so bad because the accumulation is probably not going to be too much. So if you're talking about, if you're talking about Houston, I think for now it's pretty good. And the thing is, the track has shifted a little bit more to the east. And so remember, you want to be west and north and west of the system. So if the system goes, a little bit to the north or a little bit to the east and starts bending in that direction, that's going to keep Houston and Sugar Land and these places. I know some folks asked about that. It's going to keep you on the better side of the storm. So, because of the track shift, I think y'all may be a little bit better in that direction as far as rain rates. Now, places close to the coast and stretching over toward Louisiana, it probably got a little bit worse for you tonight and moving forward in the next couple of days. So let's take a look here at a couple of things. All right, so that's your radar. Not the best radar we've ever seen. So here's the latest track from the National Hurricane Center, and this is where the concern comes in. And by the way, I think I was trying to get to this before and then got sidetracked like every other second of every day. So anyway, I was trying to tell you that this is where the center plot is of the National Hurricane Center, and for some reason I have still that green color. I kind of like it. We'll stay with green instead of the pink. So, but notice where all the rainfall is. It's well northeast of the system, and look at the western and northern side of this. It's dead over here. There's nothing going on. No rainfall west of it, and that's the shore sign of a system that's got some dry air moving in to the western side and choking it off, and all of it being pushed to the north and the east. And that's going to come into play later because this thing looks like it's going to be sheared the entire time as it makes its way close to Louisiana as well. So, with that said, here's a look at the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. It's one of those weird tracks that you don't like to see. But as we go into, this is where it currently is. Now, notice it is still forecast to push close to Houston. Remember what I just said, though, to push close to Houston by 7 a.m. tomorrow at this point. Now, keep in mind, if you draw a line right here, all the mess is on this side, right? And notice what's on the western side. Not much at all. So if Houston stays, and there's the glitch, if Houston stays on... Come on, man. All right, so so every time, how do I get rid of this? All right, that seemed to work. Anyway, if you draw a line right here, and if Houston does stay on the west side of where the center of circulation is, then I think you guys are going to be better off. You remember, if you're on the western side of it, you're looking pretty good. Now, if it would take, obviously, if it would come, we'll have to watch. But if it would take a track like this, well to the west, well, that's going to put all this area on the eastern side of that circulation. So the more east it goes, the better off for Houston it'll be. And honestly, if we can keep a lot of this mess offshore, that would be great. It's going to be one of those things, like I told you, that we need to watch in real time as these things make landfall, especially one where rainfall is a big issue. We got to watch this thing in real time and see where the radar is going to set up. All right, so anyway, there's a track, but I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here. So this is 7 a.m. tomorrow. So from where it is now to here, that's 12 hours of movement. And a lot of these places, again, remember, all this mess down here is going to have to move up to the north a little bit here. And so, yeah, if you're not getting into the bad stuff yet, you're about to. And it's going to stick over you guys for a little while. And so that's where, again, the flash flooding is going to become a concern. But then we start getting a bend in this direction. You know, it could be a little more south, could be a little more west. That's fine. The key I want to show you is that this is 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, and you see the bending happening. It's not quick, but here's where the concern really comes in, as I can take this in this direction. So this is 7 p.m. on where is that, tomorrow, and then this is 7 a.m. on what is that, Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. and that's approaching the Louisiana-Texas border there. 7 p.m. Wednesday, 7 a.m. Thursday, and 7 p.m. Thursday. So from here on the 14th, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m., we go from there to here on Thursday. So 48 hours. And again, we'll see if this verifies, but that's how much it moves in 48 hours. And keeping in mind, if you take, yeah, that's concerning, right, JJ? We'll have to see how the rain is oriented. We'll have to see how the system's oriented. But obviously, when you have a system that's moving like this and it's not really budging much, and is it closer to the coast? Because I have to tell you, if this thing takes the eastern side of this cone here, and manages to kind of stay over the water here, this is gonna be a major problem. If it would take the south part of the cone here and stays over water, all right, because while it may not strengthen too much because it's going to be getting sheared, you're going to still have the center over the water, and meanwhile it's going to just be pushing lots of moisture and lots of rainfall north. So because of the shift that we've had a little bit to the south and east, and if that does continue, then this could be some trouble moving forward, not only currently we're looking at, but moving into the southeast portion of Texas, Beaumont, Orange, all these places over here, and then into Acadiana, Lake Charles. We'll have to watch this closely, but the trends tonight have not been our friend as far as rainfall estimates and moving forward into the next couple of days. Again, I'm hoping this does not verify, and I'm hoping we won't see major issues with this, but I can tell you that we're going to see a lot of tropical moisture still with this because it's not going to be moving much, right? This is the track. This is Thursday at 7 p.m. here at the end of the track. So you know where we're sitting right now. Monday at 10 o'clock or 10:30. This is where the 10 o'clock little thing is right here. And then 7 p.m. Thursday. I mean, that's almost 3 days, and this is not going anywhere fast. So the hope is that maybe the models are missing something. Maybe we can get it out of here a little bit faster. But if we get these types of rains over here in some of the areas that are affected by Ida, that's going to be a major issue. The infrastructure around here just cannot handle that. There's a lot of roofs that just have no integrity right now. A lot of tarps, a lot of places that are still trying to recover. Southeast Louisiana does not need the type of rainfall that could happen. So again, I just want to mention that, and something I'll continue to track in the next couple of days. But certainly we need to watch this closely for folks recovering from Ida still. This is not the scenario that needs to play out. So let's go back to what's happening right now a little bit. Again, a Category 1 is very close to making landfall right now. Could happen in the next hour or so. We'll have to watch and see what that actually what actually happens here. So let me show you here what's going on as far as let's look at Galveston. Whoa, real quick, go back to that. Looks like that may have I don't know what that is right here at the middle of the screen. What's that? Some random piece of debris. I don't know. We'll track that and see if that's still there at the end of this. So remember that, whatever that is right there, and we'll see if that's flown off by the end. That will tell us definitively that we've gotten stronger winds, but it does look like the intensity has picked up, possibly over there in Galveston. Certainly the rain rate has. Definitely heavier rain coming down. Not sure about the winds, but let's keep an eye on that thing, right? All right, so here's a look at the, what are we going to be looking at here? Let me see. There's a look at where they had the plot. What else are we looking at? The model tracks here, okay? So you can see what's happening. So you can see what's happening here on the current models. And like we just showed there, right? You have this bend that happens toward, the next couple of days, and you can see all these 72s and 48s in here. That indicates that it's 48 to 72 hours from now, the storm's going to be still hanging around. So yeah, we don't want to see Nicholas that much, but it looks like he's going to be hanging around a little bit longer than we really want him to. So here we go. So this is the look at a couple of models, and I look at a few different models. GFS European model. This is the HRRR. It's a high resolution model. A lot of the TV stations use it. Some of the other pages use it sometimes, but this is one model, one scenario that could play out. This is kind of what we're looking at currently right now as we put it back into where it is. So decent initialization there. You can see as you push it back now. Yeah, right there, right? Looks kind of similar to what we're looking at currently on the infrared satellite, with the heaviest stuff right there southwest of Galveston. As we push this forward now, let's move this forward in time. This is at 11 p.m. This is 11 p.m. right here. And so yeah, looking back at the infrared, that looks pretty similar, right? So as we go forward in time, you can see what's gonna wow. All right, there we go. So we can keep on going forward in time here, and you can see how this thing starts to kind of drift a little bit. It starts to kind of decouple. It probably makes landfall, and it starts to spread out a little bit. But the one thing I want to say, this is 7 a.m. tomorrow. We still have some heavy rainfall along southeast Texas moving into southwestern Louisiana there. And so as we go forward, this is 1 p.m. tomorrow. You can see some of the rain now is starting to spread eastward. So southwest Louisiana at this point, Texas-Louisiana border getting some of that rainfall, and some little pockets stretching into like Baton Rouge and southeast Louisiana as well. This is the part that concerns me, though, as we go into tomorrow afternoon, early evening, as this thing starts to drift to the east. Remember, the shear, if you didn't hear me in the beginning, is still knocking this stuff east. So even though the center would still be located somewhere around here, remember, all the mess is going to be being pushed to the east still. So something to keep in mind there. But you see these flare-ups, right? You see it die down a little bit as we go into the nighttime hours, and then we see a flare again as we go into late tomorrow night into early on Wednesday morning. There's another flare. And then as we go into early Wednesday morning, you see it die down, but then another flare comes in right there. So something we got to keep an eye on, though, as this thing starts to push a little bit to the east, right? That's just one scenario that could play out, and certainly wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Angel, that is definitely, I think it was around Kenilworth. 5 inches of rain really quickly in 2 hours around Baton Rouge. A lot of flooding in that neighborhood. I saw that, and nowhere near the center. So the point I want to stress is that this thing has a lot of fuel, a lot of moisture tap that it can take from the Gulf. This is the HRR model that we just looked at just now. This is some of the estimates predicted that could happen, right? And again, we'll see if it verifies. But all these pinks down here, I mean, you're seeing like 7, 10 inches here. Here's an 8.4, and 8 inches. Here's an 11. Right here, close to like Kenner area, right? So you're seeing big numbers possible as this thing. Remember, the center could be located somewhere around here as it drifts, but all this stuff would be getting sheared to the east, so it'd still be on the eastern and northern side, sort of, or the eastern side at this point, as it starts getting sheared in that direction. So again, just wanted to alert you guys of that moving forward. And I'm not just saying this, I'm not just pulling this, out of where. The National Hurricane Center, or the what's it called, the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, has also, right, we looked at this earlier, the pink area tonight is where the biggest risk of flash flooding is located, but moving into tomorrow, the red area stretches over here, and you wonder why, but that's because the storm is bending in this direction. It's going to be sheared off in that direction. So wouldn't shock me totally if we go into tomorrow and see the and see a pink area somewhere around here. Maybe wouldn't shock me at all. We'll have to wait and see if that actually happens, but it's certainly in the realm of possibility, right? So here's a look. There's that dry air. You can see we've had this spin the entire time over in this direction. This is that trough right here, and this has been helping to shear things in that direction, and a lot of dry air kind of plugging in the west side here, and that's why you can kind of see the dividing line right here, right? Halfway. This is where all the mess is to the east. To the west, you're dry. Not much happening at all. And it's really, really evident when you look at it on here, where this thing is totally stacked off, to the east of where the center is. If you're west of this, you're good. And I know a lot of people are asking. I saw a few folks from Sugar Land and Houston area asking what's going on. Let's see. So like, if you're over there in Sugar Land, I mean, here you are in this area, right? You're gonna, if this thing takes that track, I mean, yeah, you'll see some rainfall, maybe some increase in winds, but remember, if you're west of where the center goes in, you are looking good. So those predictions for rainfall were accounting for potential, tracks to be coming in a little bit more inland. But if the track does not do that, it stayed offshore. Remember yesterday we were looking at the potential for landfall around like Corpus Christi to Port O'Connor, and that was more west, so that may have taken it up toward Houston and kept Houston on the eastern side. But now it did not make landfall. This thing took that scenario where it stayed offshore and still not inland yet. So again, that may put Houston on the better side of this, and actually some of those modeling numbers for Houston being big, they might not verify, and that's good news, right? That's good news. Now it's not going to be such good news for some other folks, but yeah, I mean, that could be good news. So yeah, something to watch for as we go in and see what this thing actually does make the landfall. So one of these reasons right now, somebody asked about the dry air. Remember, you have this inflow still down here from the Gulf of Mexico, and that's helping to fuel this side of the system right now. The flow from up here is from the northwest, and it's kind of choking off that side of the system. Remember the counterclockwise rotation. That's why dry air is getting on this side, but as it comes into the Gulf, the air is still moist, is coming into this side. So again, if the thing would have made landfall, it may have been able to be choked off, but it did not. It's still over water. So, yeah. No problem, Jessica. No problem. All right, let's see. All right, so let's go back to the radar and see what's going on real quick. I'm going to check this out. Actually, let's check it on Galveston. Oh. Well, Galveston didn't make it. I believe the camera has gone out. There you go. So, all right, that tells us everything we need to know there. Okay, so what are we going to do now? I was all looking forward to going to Galveston. All right, let's go look at radar. This is the most important thing right now to look at and see what's going on. Make sure it's behaving itself. Now a lot of rainfall still coming in. This is that area right here, right from Freeport, Treasure Island, Jamaica Beach. A lot of rainfall still coming into the north here. Hoping that this thing can get out of here because they've had a lot of rainfall in that area currently. So yeah. Just let me just make sure here. Go back to the radar and see one thing. Just don't want to make sure they don't. All right, so no flash flood emergencies or anything like that yet. That's good. Don't want to see those happen. Jeffrey about Lafayette. Yeah, I mean, look, we have a chance to see a lot of rainfall over in Acadiana as this thing slowly crawls in that direction. Like I told y'all yesterday with these things, they put kind of a blanket of potential rainfall amounts over a large area because it's just simply so hard to know exactly where the center is going to come in, and any shifts east or west changes the amount of rainfall that people see from something like this. So, like areas like Sugar Land and Houston, yeah, you're going to see some rainfall from this, certainly as we move in, to later on tonight. But hopefully the rates aren't going to be as big as they could have been because the center may go east of you. And I'm not saying you're not going to see rain. You're going to see rain later. But hopefully the the totals won't be as high as they could have been as this thing continues to shift off in that direction. So we got to watch it. Still got to watch everything though on the radar. I don't trust them. I don't trust tropical systems. But obviously the heaviest stuff is close to the coast right now. Yeah, Sulphur and Lake Charles. Look, you got to watch this, Gilbert, because this bends in your direction, and as it bends in that direction, you're under a moderate. Look, the when we get there's Galveston, by the way, still out. When we get these types of reds, normally these moderate warnings, as you don't see that, there it is. When you get these types of moderate level 3 is what that is, I believe. That's a pretty big deal when you get red. When you have a pink in the picture, though, you kind of don't look at the red anymore. You say, oh, Lord, there's a pink in there. You never get pink. That's rare. But red is serious, too, right? So they're outlining these areas to, they outline these areas because these are the areas that have the most likely opportunity to see some flash flooding. So yeah, certainly around Lake Charles, Sulphur, all these areas over here, as it bends in that direction, depending on where the band's set up, because it's just gonna really depend on where the worst of these bands do set up. But they really had this nailed as far as that pink area, because that's where the worst of it is coming in right now. They did not have Houston and Sugar Land in that pink area, simply because the worst, as this thing was going to hug the coast, that's where the worst of these rain bands were going to be coming down. So they definitely nailed that one as far as the outline for the worst of it. So kind of looking at the broader view, you can kind of see, look, these bands are going to be stretching down well to the south in the Gulf. And so this thing is going to have a nice tap, a nice supply of moisture as this thing moves to the north. And you can just see the orientation of this thing. So, just imagine as it moves to the north and then bends over to the east. If these bands can stay oriented similar or close to what they're like right now, well, you can just imagine you take this big glob and you start pushing it over in that direction. And that's where the totals start to accumulate. The issue is that right now the storm is moving, I don't even know. What is the storm movement? I think 10, we said before. So the storm right now is moving at 10 miles per hour is what the National Hurricane Center has it. But as it starts to lose the steering currents, you can see up here by Houston it's still at 10. But watch as we start to turn now. As it starts to go east-northeast, now we're down to 5 miles per hour at that point. And now we get here, we're down to 5. Now we're down to not available. or NA at that point. What the hell does that mean? It might not be might just be drifting at that point, right? All right, so yeah, it's not doing much at all. So that's my point. So it's not going to be moving much, right? It's moving 10 right now, but it starts to really decrease in speed as we start to get that bend over toward Louisiana. So yeah. So something that we definitely got to keep an eye on as we move forward. All right, let's go back to the radar and see what's going on. So there's a look at Nicholas and what it's doing tonight, causing some, definitely some bad weather and issues down here. I'm happy that so far, at least, that we haven't seen any of those flash flood emergencies. I don't know if these areas are starting to accumulate water in the streets, how the drainage systems are there. I don't know the exact geography of some of these areas, but I do know that some of the accumulation's got to be picking up right now as far as the the rainfall totals, because the rain has been coming down a while in these particular areas. So that's something we got to watch for. Let me see if maybe it's not as yeah, so you see those yellows and oranges starting to kind of creep in there at the bottom. Those are, I'm just kind of trying to see some of the storm total. So the yellow, oranges, and reds, thankfully, those are the biggest totals that have been on, and they've kind of stayed offshore. They're starting to creep north a little bit, but those yellows, oranges, and reds are 8 for the yellow, 10 inches for orange, and 12 inches for red. So that's predicted accumulation in these spots, and so that's some decent totals already adding up. So we got to get this rain out of here, because obviously you can see those starting to creep in, getting close to some of these areas. The blues and the pinks are still, it's a lot. It's about 6 inches. It's not extreme amounts, but it's going to add up still if we don't get these bands out of there. So again, you don't want those yellows and reds creeping in. So hopefully we can get this stuff out. You can see it's starting to move north a little bit. So let's lift this out of here before these totals start to really accumulate. Now, one thing to also look at, if you see the area right now, Lake Freeport, Lake Jackson, Treasure Island, those are probably some of the strongest winds that we have in this hurricane. So if you're in Freeport, Lake Jackson area, Treasure Island, I would imagine that you're getting some pretty decent winds right now, as that's really where that's basically, I think, the center at this point, right? It's not a very well defined center, but that's the center, somewhere around there, right? And so y'all are probably getting some decent winds. In fact, we may be getting close to a landfall at this point in the next half hour or so. So, oh, Joe, how you doing, bud? Always good to see you on here trolling. That's good. It's good. That's fine. I have no issues with that. I'd rather you troll me than other people, I can tell you that. Yeah, so we might be getting close to kind of a landfall here from the National Hurricane Center. I don't know if they're saying right now. Nicholas becomes a hurricane. Northeast 10. Yeah. Oh. Could be close. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, good. So the Halls and Cloud Bayou is still low. That's good. That's where some issues happen, right? Where those bayous fill up and... Oh, the Tropics After Dark nightclub is always open, by the way. This Tropics After Dark nightclub never closes. It's one of those nightclubs. Yep. Yeah, I don't know if, Mandy says Southeast Louisiana. I have a lot of friends in Lake Jackson area ready for hurricane season to end. There's a lot of folks in Southeast Louisiana who evacuated there. Right? There's a lot of folks who went west. We evacuated east. A lot of folks went west. I can tell you that was a pain in the butt going west. But there's a lot of folks that evacuated for Ida to these areas. And I had a couple message me and say, I'm evacuated here. Do I need to go back? I don't have power or anything in my house yet. And tricky question. Because this is not a pleasant experience either. So it's just one of those things, right? I mean, there's no way to tell this was going to happen a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, there's a lot of folks in this area who actually are evacuees for, due to Ida, and now they're dealing with this. So yeah, certainly not the ideal scenario taking place currently. My hope is that we can get the center out of there, and so this rain can start decreasing, at least the rain rates around here, Freeport, Lake Jackson area. But remember, all this is moving to the north and or northeast. So all these areas, Jamaica Beach, Galveston, Texas City, you can expect your rain rates to be increasing. Alvin as well, in the next hour or so, probably. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on the I-10 ride for the storm? Here's some conversation on it. Yeah, I mean, it could, right? It could go close to where, the I-10 track, right? I mean, it's hard to know exactly for sure, but certainly could take that type of thing. Morgan asks, when is landfall? It's probably pretty soon. I mean, if that's this, I mean, I think that's, look, this is not a well-defined center. I think that's the center, though, south of Freeport right there on the radar, or somewhere close to it, or just to the east. I don't know. I think that's the center. Again, this is like a half a hurricane, right? It doesn't have that eye that you normally see where you can easily pick up the the center of circulation. This is not that type of hurricane, but I think the center south of Freeport right now, if I'm not mistaken. And so let me go back to the yeah, it might be a little bit west, or a little bit west of where that is. Let me show you what I'm looking at. That's where the National Hurricane Center had the plot at 10 p.m. This is Freeport right here, if you can't see it. And so it's close to it. It might be just a little bit west of Freeport right now. So I would imagine that we are getting near, within the hour, we might, if it continues on some track like this, right, we might see a landfall somewhere around here. I don't know if there's any corporate areas in that region, or if it's, let's see, can't really tell. I don't see any city names around here. Closest I see is Surfside, Freeport, these areas here. It's Matagorda Bay right there, but that's to the west, so I'm not sure where they'd call the official landfall if it does take place. We'll have to just wait and see, but it looks like it could happen. Could happen pretty soon, actually. I'd say within the next hour or so if this continues. So yeah, we'll see what it does. Now, sometimes when you get landfall with the center, you do get that kind of convergent friction that happens, and things can kind of tighten up a little bit, and that actually helps to increase the rain rates at landfall. So that may happen with this. That's something to watch for. As this thing starts to make landfall and it goes to the north, we might see more of the banding start to take place, and some of these rain rates become a little bit heavier. So something to keep in mind up there in portions of Houston, or maybe just areas east of Houston as it moves up in your direction. So yeah. All right, let's see what's going on in the what are we looking at here? We talked about that. I don't know if I have anything else to talk about here. Let's look at Galveston. Oh, Galveston's back. Yep, Galveston's back. The video came back, so they must have had some big gust or something take out their camera. Why are people driving right now? I don't understand that. Could be JJ Surfside. Could happen. Could. All right, so this still survived. Waves are coming in, decent amount. We got a lot of rain. Pretty decent wind there. You can see the horizontal rain. I think we might have just lost Galveston again. So yeah, certainly conditions there look like they're getting a little bit worse as the storm gets a little bit closer. That's what we can obviously expect to see. Shannon, southeast Louisiana may start to see the rainfall as early as tomorrow and continuing into Wednesday. Again, it's a tricky forecast. It's hard to say who will get it when and how these bands are going to set up. I'm hoping that the models are totally wrong about some of the estimates. But we'll just have to see. Yeah, that's what it's saying. Why are you driving in this? What are you doing? White truck, car, and look at the water. They're splashing up there. I mean, it's not the best. It's not ideal conditions for driving right now. I don't get that. Unless they're like seeking higher ground. They saw crap starting to go downhill. I don't know. I can't judge them. Maybe they're seeking higher ground and going inland a little bit more and getting the heck off the coast. I don't know what they're doing. But it's not the safest area to be driving right now. They're brave, right, JJ? They don't care. I won't judge them, though. Maybe they wanted to be safer and they're going inland now. Who knows? All right, so that's the latest on Nicholas, right? You can see on the infrared satellite picture. You can see the flare up there in the middle, right? Those whites, those white colors, the little pinks there toward the center of circulation, or somewhere close to it. I don't know where the center is in this infrared. It's hard to even pick it out, but something's happening there. You see the convection. It's still pretty it's still pretty decent looking on satellite. So it's intense. It's intense there right now. I'm sure your conditions are definitely going downhill a bit. All right, let's see. Any questions or just silly goosery happened on this chat? Let's see. 13 days without power will make you think you look good in an orange jumpsuit. The ground is already saturated. Won't be able to handle all this rain, and that's never a good thing. Category 4 couldn't take us out, so they're going to try and drown us now. Well, Jennifer says that's sad, right? Jeez. Jesse now talking to vehicles. Yeah, gotta do it. I don't think my brain has actually recovered from Ida, to be honest with you. So it's like some of those things, don't think it's actually recovered yet. But here we are, Nicholas. All right, let's see what we have here. Lice? No idea what you're talking about. Still pretty calm there. Yeah, look, if you're now Houston near Sugar Land, pretty gusty rain coming in now. Yeah, and if it starts to go north there toward Houston, Melanie, as the track indicates that it's gonna, look, I don't by any means mean that Houston is not going to see some impact from this. You're going to feel it, but if you can stay west of the center, I think your rain, totals, accumulations will be a little bit lower than what were predicted. So that's brutal. Gilbert, 31 days without power from Laura. Laura in Baton Rouge expecting rain. I mean, look, that's all I can say. I mean, as we go into the next day or so, this thing's going to be drifting off to the east, and there's going to be the potential to see a lot of rainfall in some areas. Again, it's really tough to say this area is going to get this much and this area is going to get this much. Can't do that, but they issued flash flood watches all across southwest, central Baton Rouge through the southeast Louisiana as well. Flash flood watches have been issued. The moderate chance of flash flooding has been issued by the WPC. They're outlining this entire area because of the bend that we're going to get from this track. I mean, let me show you. This is the National Hurricane Center's. That's not it. There it is. Look at that. I mean, have you? I mean, it's a weird track, right? I mean, you can see how tightly compact those D's are. So as it moves to the north, you see that bend over there, and and you see the slowdown. 7 a.m. on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Wednesday there, and then those other, it just doesn't move, right? It starts to slow down. So so we see a lot of rainfall potential. I see models indicate 8. I've seen 8 inches, 11. I mean, they're all over the place, right? Because there's no model that can perfectly predict this. But what I can tell you is this thing. As this thing starts to drift to the east and you still have a tap of Gulf moisture, then we probably have these bands that are going to kind of pulsate and kind of move in some areas, and somebody could get too much rainfall and deal with some flooding. So 5 inches, 10 inches, maybe locally higher amounts in some areas. I'm hoping that's not the case, but it's something that's certainly on the table, that we could see as it drifts in that direction. Jennifer, I don't know. I mean, I'm be honest with you, because there's some areas in this is the HRR modeling forecast. Is it one of the best? Not always. It's okay. I mean, sometimes, right? It does well sometimes, but I mean, you see these totals around southeast Louisiana. This is 8 inches, 11 inches, 9.3. Here's a couple of 6 and 8 inches, 7 to 10 inches around this area, and this would be valid, going into like Wednesday. So I don't want people in southeast Louisiana that are recovering from Ida to let their guard down with this one, because it is possible that that we could see some decent totals even as far east as southeast Louisiana with this. So because of the fact that it's bending in that direction. So certainly got to watch it as we move forward here. All right, let's see what's going on the radar. Anything new here? No. Rainfall still coming down pretty good. Center of circulation, hard to locate right now. It's somewhere there southeast of, somewhere, I don't know, it's close to maybe Freeport. If you can pick out the center, you're better than I am. Is it south of Jamaica Beach? I mean, there's been so many different swirling vortices the entire day. Yeah. No problem, Jennifer. It appears that we may have had a glitch just now. Is everybody still on? Looks like I might have disconnected for a minute there. I hope we're still back on now and everybody can see me and hear me again. Not sure what happened just now. Had a little disconnect happen there. So if y'all can confirm that you're still seeing and hearing, that would be much appreciated. There's Galveston. Whoa. Yeah, now it definitely looks like the winds have picked up a bit there. Certainly looks like the winds have picked up in the Galveston area. Cool. Y'all still here. Good. Yeah, it looked like it disconnected for a minute there. Yeah, now that rain's almost becoming a little bit blinding looking, right? The way it's coming in from the Gulf there. And I would imagine that's going to start to continue to increase. So yeah, it's not a pleasant night in Texas right now, and it's not going to be pleasant along the entire northern Gulf Coast the next day or so. There's a driver still. Um, I just don't get that. Yeah, Port Arthur. Asking about Port Arthur. Is that a leaf? Port Arthur. Is that part of the roof or something? Uh, Port Arthur is has a chance to see a lot of rainfall with this, right? As it bends in that direction. Again, it's not. The totals are vary, but there's big totals being predicted. But the key is that these areas are under that moderate risk of flash flooding. That red area, we have an area in pink right now currently where the heaviest rainfall is coming down. But they've outlined that area over there to the east, stretching over Port Arthur and going toward Lake Charles, Lafayette, and even toward southeast Louisiana. Right? I mean, you wouldn't think a storm making landfall in this area would be an issue, but if you go back to some storms in the past, I think Francis in '98, where Terrytown got like 20 something inches of rainfall, and the landfall was over in Texas, close to where this area is. So these messy tropical storms can cause some issues, even if you're not near the center of . So something to ordered a pizza there, Amanda says. Gave him the wrong address, so it's just so we'd have to drive through this. Let's see. No problem, Jason. Yeah, it looks intense there now, doesn't it? I don't know how strong those winds are, but it does look pretty intense. It's definitely gotten more intense than it was at the beginning of the thing when we started to look at it. Let's take a look, by the way, while we're here. Is that another car? Hey, there's a hurricane out there, guys. That'd be funny if they were watching this broadcast on their phone right now. They started flashing lights or something. All right, so let's take a look at the what did I want to look at? The GFS model, the latest midnight run. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so there we are. We're starting right there, and it's a good question, Anthony. I'm trying to figure that out myself. So yeah, let's see if the GFS starts to bend it in this direction. This is tomorrow at noon. This is tomorrow evening, and then yeah, you can see it just kind of stall out. But notice the moisture now. Look, I mean, as people asked about Mississippi and Alabama going to Florida, there's a chance that you guys get some rain from this too going into Wednesday. And finally, we start to improve a little bit by Wednesday night into Thursday. But I don't have an umbrella recommendation, to be honest with you, Amanda. I don't use umbrellas that often, but the one that I had, I don't remember the brand name for it, but it's one that opens in reverse style. So when you close it, the rain goes outward instead of like in all over you when you close it. I don't remember the brand though, but that would be my recommendation. I can find out the brand for that. I don't remember what it was. All right, let's push this back a little bit here. This is the latest GFS. We just watched that for the first time. How exciting. All right, this is kind of the IAR here. By the hands down, GFS has been the more accurate model this season. It's not even close. I have been so impressed with the GFS model for the last 2 or 3 years, but this year it's been incredibly good. European model is way too far west with everything. The GFS is the one that snuffed this thing out to stay offshore. The GFS was the first one to bring Ida to New Orleans or southeast Louisiana area, down toward Terrebonne Lafourche, where the Euro still had it over there toward Vermilion Bay. The Euro has been shifting itself back to the GFS with pretty much every storm this year. GFS is the king of models now. I love the GFS. And it snuffs things out even a couple of weeks in advance. It's not exact, but it shows you that there might be a low pressure that we have to deal with. gives you indications even far in advance now. So the GFS has been really, really good. I think the H-Wharf, Brittany, has been decent on intensity, not really so much on position, but it has been decent on the way storms evolve as far as the look and as far as the intensity goes. As far as where they can make landfall, the H-Wharf's got some work to do there, but the H-Wharf has been pretty good at forecasting, intensity. I really don't know why, Melanie. I mean, maybe the European just exaggerates the strength of the ridges a little bit and forces things west more so than the GFS does. They all have different parameters they put into it, but for some reason the European model has been exaggerating the strength of those ridges that are to the north of these storms and have been pushing them way far to the west. I don't know. I really don't know why that is and why they won't correct it, but it's been, the Euro used to be the king. It's not anymore. GFS has taken that title, in my opinion. So this is, let's see how this evolves here. And I predicted infrared, yeah. You can see that mess, even as the storm makes landfall and goes to the east, you're going to have a lot of mess pushing in that direction, and it finally gets out of here by Wednesday. So, a lot to still watch with this, even as we go forward after tonight. But I do think that landfall is going to be happening pretty soon. At least according to the radar, that's what it looked like. I'm still holding here with the rain and wind increasing in Galveston now, Yvonne says. Yeah, that's not, yeah, look at that. You can look at Galveston right now. And, I don't know where the actual center is, somewhere around here. I'd say close to, what JJ said, what, Surfside, maybe, right? Maybe close to Surfside Beach. It's somewhere around there. But anyway, as all this moves north, this is where the most intense stuff is, in this area right here. And all this is moving to the north right now. So, yeah, that's a good idea, actually, Jessica. I'll write that down. It's inverted umbrellas and put the Tropics After Dark logo on them. Who would be interested in that, right? Got it. No, I'd use it. So that's a good idea, though. Anyway, that's the most intense stuff right there, right? South of Freeport, stretching over toward Treasure Island, Jamaica Beach, and Galveston. Actually, it's picking up right now, but it has the opportunity as this thing moves to the northeast that it's actually going to be intensifying a little bit more probably in the next hour or so, as all this stuff starts to lift in that direction. So if Galveston's winds are high right now, they'll probably be getting a little bit higher up there towards Sugar Land, Houston. Still looking good. Moderate rainfall in that direction. Probably going to get a little bit heavier, soon as all this mess moves to the north. But you can see the circulation. Again, it's not, you don't see the true eye here. You're just seeing a general kind of northwestern movement there, but, not too much as far as any wrapping around an eye. It just hasn't been able to do that. A lot of dry air wrapping around that portion of the system here. This is the flash flood warning that's been in place for a while now, and it's still going to be in place at least for the next 2 hours and 8 minutes. It says. Well, we're going to have to see. There goes my power. Miranda says, "Where are you located again, Miranda?" The storm is still at 75 miles per hour, I believe, and at the last advisory, they had it moving at 10 miles per hour. So I'm not sure if it's picking up speed or not. I mean, tough to tell. I mean, I just have to judge it here by the radar. I mean, it maybe we'll have to see what they. We'll have to see what happens here. League City's been okay so far, but it does appear that as we move in here in the next hour or so, let's find League City right there in the middle of the screen, League City. These bands are going to be lifting toward League City, and so I would think the intensity is going to start to pick up a bit within the next probably 30 minutes or so. If these bands make it up to your area, these are going to be probably the heavier rain rates and probably some more winds in there embedded inside of these squalls that move in. So I would say if it's not too bad right now in League City, JJ, you'll probably get a little bit more as we move in later on. Probably next half hour, 45 minutes, maybe sooner. So we'll see how that evolves. All right, so this is still a flash flood warning that has been issued. This is just a flash flood warning. I'm just making sure that it's gonna, not be updated to one of those dreaded flash flood emergencies when real-time flooding is actually happening. That's what you need to watch out for as we move in here. But there's a lot of rain, a lot of moisture tap, unlimited moisture tap coming in from the Gulf that we still need to, get through here. So let's take a look back at what's happening with Galveston right now. Let's see how the winds are doing there. To me, it looks like it's certainly has increased. I mean, now the rain is totally just coming in sideways at this point. So it's certainly increasing since we first started. And surely nobody's driving. Oh, never mind. That was the worst timing. I just figured at this point they're certainly in. I mean, come on. These people are, I don't want to say crazy, but what are they doing? All right. So anyway, that's the latest on Nicholas. It's close. I'm telling you, it's close to making landfall. Mary Lou says you're over in Matagorda County, over in Bay City. The wind has been crazy for the last few hours. Yeah, it's hugging the coast, man. It's hugging the coast down there, and just hasn't officially moved inland yet. And so this was kind of that one of the scenarios where we didn't want to see the other night when we talked about where the storm, if it moved inland sooner, it wouldn't be able to intensify, obviously, and it would not have gotten up to a Category 1 hurricane. But this one, this one has. You left Galveston, Tony. That's. I'm kind of glad to hear that. That you left Galveston. It was a tricky call. For the Galveston area. That was. I'm glad you made that decision. I thought you were going to stay there, but yeah, definitely. So this one stayed offshore just enough and just kind of ran parallel to the coast, and really probably the worst track we could have gotten with this particular storm. I mean, we knew it wasn't going to blow up into a Category 3 or 4, right? We knew that wasn't going to happen. But it was not supposed to get to Category 1 hurricane according to the National Hurricane Center. They had it at 65 as the max winds. But this was the scenario that it needed to take for that to happen. And it did stay offshore enough. And it allowed it to strengthen right now. It's up to 75 and still not officially, I don't believe, has officially made landfall. But it's close. I think it's close right now. Let's take a look here at what's going on with the aircraft. Are they still in the storm? Yeah, look, they're circling that thing like crazy. Let's see what they're finding out there. You can see the passes they're making right here, and this is the first time I'm seeing this with y'all here. But the latest pass that they had is so you can see what happened. This was earlier, if you can see the green line drawing, and then the next plot they had made a little more east, and now this was the second to last plot, and now it looks like it may have bent a little bit east of north there, and so this is where they have the center right now, and they are still. This is if you can see it on here. This is kind of where land is, the Texas coast, if you can kind of see that in your screen right there. So that's where the latest plot is, where they are flying into right now. Recon, they are still flying into this right now currently, and that last plot, you can see how close it is to land right now. So it's not far. I mean, if it's not happened yet, it's going to be happening in the next hour or so, I'm sure, because it's not far off shore at this point. I don't know how many miles that is, but it's not far. The highest winds, by the way, and this is something to keep in mind here for all these areas that are along the coast and moving in here. So normally with a strong hurricane, you would have winds stretching over here to the left side, but these winds over in this direction are not very strong. These purples are going to be your strongest winds, and look how far they are stretching away, and look at where they are. They're all located well east of where the center of circulation is. So these are the strongest winds. So, keep in mind as those squalls move in later on, That's where the winds are going to be. That's where the strongest winds are going to be located. They're not going to always be necessarily right around the center of circulation. With this storm, it's different. They're displaced well to the east of the center of circulation. So that's where they're plotting it right now. You can see where that latest where the latest plot is right there. This is their latest plot right there. And I forgot who asked if it was moving faster, but it might actually be moving a little bit slower since the last one. You can see this is where the plot was, and you can see the distance between them. It's a little bit closer there, so I'm not sure how long it was, but I don't think it doesn't look like it's sped up, at least. It may be going the same, but it doesn't look like it's sped up. So, yeah, this is where the last plot is right there. So, but it's close. I'd say within the next hour or so, they'll get an official landfall on the Texas coast. All right, so that's the latest on Hurricane Nicholas now. 75-mile-per-hour winds, the National Hurricane Center. Any updates? Nope, nothing. So, look, I'll be tracking the radar in the next few hours or so to make sure that things behave. There's a lot of rain coming down. I'm a little concerned about this flash flood warning that's been in place for a while. The one right there with Lake Jackson stretching over toward Texas City. Because this flash flood warning has been issued for a while, and this includes like Lake Jackson, Oyster Creek, Freeport, Jamaica Beach, mainly these areas a little bit to the west, though. I'd say Lake Jackson, Oyster Creek, Freeport, Treasure Island. These were in the flash flood warning when it was issued early, and so we still have this last band that's going to be moving in with some pretty heavy rain rates. You can see the oranges and the reds embedded in there, and so this is going to be moving north. So hopefully we can keep the water down and we don't start getting accumulation. But if it's going to happen, it would happen with this band that's going to be lifting to the north a little bit. And so, something we got to watch. And I'm also going to take a look at the gauges when I get off of here. I should have had that up. I did not, but I do want to look at the river gauges and some of the bayou creeks and things like that to make sure those levels are still looking good. So I'll take a look at that as well. All right, so that's the latest on Hurricane Nicholas, still holding at 75 miles per hour. Wait for the new update from the National Hurricane Center, see if they have anything for us as far as winds or motion. I doubt if it's going to increase anymore. Hopefully we start to get a weakening of the winds and we can get this thing on shore. So that is the latest. Thank you guys for joining for this Tropics After Dark. One last look here at the infrared satellite and one last look at Galveston. And certainly that has definitely picked up since the start of this. That thing's rocking and rolling over there in Galveston now. So thank you guys for joining. Share this video if y'all would like. Stay with the page. I'll continue to update you guys as we go forward here in the next few hours or so, and I'll keep an eye on the radar as well. Thank y'all. Thank you for following the page. I really appreciate y'all, and everybody stay safe out there. And keep an eye on the radar, keep an eye on the warnings that come in, flash flood warnings, and certainly I'll keep an eye to make sure we don't have any of those flash flood emergencies that happen, as we go forward into the next few hours. So, a couple of long days coming up, a lot of rainfall coming in, even as we go to the south and to the east toward Louisiana too. All right, everyone, have a good rest of your night, and stay safe out there.